Hi guys, how you doing? Welcome back to the office. The office here, the car park here at St James's Park, where I've been stood doing a couple of live hits of Sky Sports News today about the current situation regarding yon Marc Guéhi. Yeah, we're fed up talking about it. I'm fed up being asked about it. I'm sure you guys are fed up hearing about it and fed up scrolling through your Twitter timelines hoping for a deal agreed. I'm going to get on to shortly a bit about why Marc Guéhi was on Sky Sports News yesterday, because I've had a lot of people asking about it on social media, why we did an interview with him, and I'll explain how that has come around and why that's the situation. But firstly, I'm just going to bring you up to speed with the ever-developing story regarding Guéhi, and by the time you watch this it might be different, but what I can tell you today is, as I'm stood here on Thursday early afternoon, is that the third offer that Newcastle placed for Marc Guéhi at the weekend has officially been rejected by Crystal Palace. No surprise really when we heard Steve Parish on Tuesday tell my colleague Rob Dorset at Sky Sports News that no one had got anywhere near his valuation of the player. So we were expecting it to be rejected anyway, but it has in the last 24 hours been rejected at Newcastle. They're not back to the drawing board, but the ball's back in their court as to what they want to do next. Now, my understanding is that that third bid was 55 plus 5, so £60 million offer, which is a lot of money for a central defender, and only a couple of £1 million away from Newcastle's biggest transfer of all time, which of course was Alexander Isak, who signed from Real Sociedad for, I think it was Real Sociedad, wasn't it? Yeah, for 58 plus 5, so a package of 63 million. So it sounds very much like if Newcastle are to get Guéhi and Eddie Howe is to land his number one defensive target, they are going to have to give Palace the full 65 plus that they're looking for and break the club's transfer record at the same time. That 63 million for Isak, you would suspect, will have to be eclipsed, and 65 million will have to be spent on the England defender, 24-year-old. So look, no surprise, we all heard Parish the other day saying that no one had got close. We also heard him say that if anyone wants to sign a superstar, they have to pay superstar money. Well, I think Guéhi was probably a little bit embarrassed by that, those comments. It was clear to everyone that Newcastle at that stage hadn't offered enough. Now, what people will ask me now is, does that mean it's dead? Is that over? Should we walk away? Have we walked away? My understanding at this moment, as I stand here, is that Newcastle have not walked away. I think negotiations are continuing behind the scenes, and I think we've reached a stage in the transfer where it's not bid, reject. I think they're probably just talking with Crystal Palace to try and find a solution for all parties, because look, I think it was pretty clear from what Steve Parish said the other day that the player is keen on the move, and while he won't agitate to leave, he is keen on progress in his career and a move to Newcastle on bigger money for a team challenging for European football and trying to win trophies. Will probably be seen as a step up from Crystal Palace, who at this moment appear to be a bit of a selling club. The fact that Elise's gone, Anderson might be going, there's a doubt over Eberechi Eze's future as well. So yeah, it feels to me like he wants to come, and you know, we've been reporting that money has already been discussed, and you know, the sort of money he would earn at Newcastle has been mentioned, and there would be no issue with personal terms. So it's up to Crystal Palace to agree a deal, or accept an offer from Newcastle. Now, while I'm saying I don't think there's offers going back and forward now. I think they're both negotiating, and the deal has reached a delicate stage where they're going to have to come to a resolution, or Newcastle are going to have to walk away. But the message I'm getting, and the words I'm being told, is that the parties are trying to find a solution. So it feels to me like it could still happen for you asking. However, it could easily not happen as well if Newcastle decide, hang on, we're getting asked to pay far too much here, we can't afford that, we don't want to pay that. They could yet walk away, but as I stand here, they are still negotiating, so a deal could yet happen. It's not dead in the water, and I feel very much like they've come so far down the line with this that they probably need to push the button on it and get it done, because they're kind of so close but so far. So it feels like they're maybe only 5 to 7 million pounds away from getting it done, and you know, they've come so far, perhaps they just push the boat out and go for it, because it probably won't look too good in the club if they get this far down the line and don't get him. But on the flip side of that, perhaps it does look good if Newcastle do say, hang on, we're not going to be dictated to like this. We feel this is a value. We can't get him for that. Perhaps maybe you guys do feel. You can let me know in the comments below. Maybe you do feel that Newcastle, your club, should walk away from this because Crystal Palace are pushing it a little bit to ask for too much. Again, it just comes down to the valuation of the player, and Steve Parish, as we all know, is a tough negotiator, like Daniel Levy at Tottenham Hotspur, and a difficult guy, a difficult club to do a deal with. So I think that's why we've got to this situation. So that's where we are right now. Don't think it's dead. They're still in talks behind the scenes, but I don't think we're going to get a running commentary of any more bids. I think it will just be either a Newcastle walk away or they do come to some kind of agreement. But I think listening to Marc Guéhi yesterday in his interview with Sky Sports News, he sounded fairly settled. He wasn't agitating to leave, and he sounds fairly comfortable with the situation. But I think Steve Parish has played a blinder there as well, because he said so many nice things about Marc Guéhi in his interview on Tuesday that Marc Guéhi was obviously going to be flattered by that, and he's not going to come out and agitate to leave. So I think that's part of that. I want to get on to that interview as promised yesterday, conducted by my colleague Gary Cotterill with Marc Guéhi. Now, a lot of people on Twitter saying to me, or asking, why have Sky Sports News interviewed Marc Guéhi today? That's a bit random. Why have they done him 2 days before the season when he's in the middle of a transfer talks or a potential move to Newcastle? You don't normally do that. Well, you're right, we don't normally speak to a player in the middle of transfer negotiations, and the reason for that is they're not made available to us. But there's a thing called an ICS, it's like an international broadcasters interview opportunity that we get every single week with every club. So every club that isn't live on Sky, we get a player put up, and if we're the host broadcast, if we've got the match live, which I believe we do have on Sunday, I think Brentford are playing Palace, I think it's live on Sky, we get a player live. Now, it's up to the club who they put up. Sometimes we can request a player, but in this instance, I believe Crystal Palace have offered us Marc Guéhi, and he's the most newsy player in the squad right now. Why would you not say no? So that's why we've taken that up. I think what's then happened is Gary's got there to do the interview, and he's been told, right, you can speak to Marc Guéhi, but no questions on transfers. Now, you need to ask Crystal Palace why they put Marc Guéhi up, because it's a very unusual move when a player's in the middle of a tug of war between two clubs to put him up to speak. But perhaps it's a bit of tactics from them, or perhaps they just want him to come out and say everything's great, there's no problems, to make it look as though he's happy. I don't know. That's Palace's decision. The Sky, as a broadcaster, we're not going to turn in and say no, we don't want to speak to him, because we're a news outlet at the end of the day. The problem is Gary, I think, is then being told when he's doing the interview not to ask about transfers, leaves him in a very difficult situation. And fair play to him, he's managed to get a couple of questions on the transfer scenario without directly mentioning Newcastle. So that's why the quotes have probably been a little bit pro Crystal Palace, because it's the only way he's kind of been able to touch around the subject to get something from him. So long story short is, I wouldn't read too much into that. Like, we are quite often told you're not allowed to ask this, you're not allowed to ask that, and I think that's what's kind of happened yesterday. So it's not been done to have a dig at Newcastle, it's not been done to troll Newcastle or troll the fans. It was just he was available to speak to. Like, we've got Nick Pope this week for Newcastle, and every club will put a different player up that both Sky Sports, Premier League Productions and all the other international broadcasters can speak to. It just so happens that Marc Guéhi is, one, very newsworthy at the moment, and two, was probably told not to say anything, so it made the whole interview look probably a little bit awkward from a Newcastle perspective. So that's what happened with that. But as I say, here we are, we're still talking about it. There's still 2 weeks left of the transfer window. I would never say a deal's dead until Newcastle officially walk away, and that is not the message that's been relayed to me at all. So it's become a bit of a saga, this one, isn't it? An absolute saga, and I'm probably fed up talking about it myself, because I almost become collateral damage in it. You guys want to know what's happening, get frustrated when you don't get what you want. People involved in the deal get annoyed that you're putting news out there when they want to keep it quiet, and you're just annoying everyone. Without anything tangible at the end of it. So the sooner this gets done for you guys, it'll be a weight off my shoulders, because then we can move on to the next one and everyone's kind of got a smile on their faces again. So I hope that answers your question as to where we are, and your question as to why Marc Guéhi was up for the interview yesterday. Steve Parish spoke on Tuesday at the Premier League launch day. There was quite a lot of owners there, and clearly he's wanted to do that interview. To me, looking at it now, I think he's done that interview because he's kind of said, look, ball back in Newcastle's court. If you want him, you need to, you know, put up or shut up. Now Newcastle will probably think we're actually putting up already because we're offering a lot of money, but he's clearly in a position, he's in a strong position to hold out for whatever he wants, and you know, he's saying he'll not sell him until then. And Marc Guéhi seems like a good guy, and he seems like the sort of guy who's not going to hand in a transfer request. I know some players do that, but it sounds like he's a good character, and that's why that's not happened. So awkward situation for all parties. There hasn't been a huge amount of movement, but for me the crucial thing is third bid has been rejected, but I'm told a solution is still trying to be found. So watch this space, a deal could yet happen. I was going to get on to talk about Sandro Tonali being back on the 28th rather than the 27th, but you know about that already, I'm sure. He will either make his return against Nottingham Forest in the Cup or against Tottenham on the 1st. It all depends when that Nottingham Forest game is scheduled for. If it's scheduled for Wednesday the 28th, Tonali will be involved. If it's scheduled for Tuesday the 27th, he can't play because his ban runs up until the end of play that day on the 27th, and you'll see him against Tottenham here at St James's Park on the 1st of September. So hope that brings you guys up to speed on things. Leave your comments below if you can be bothered talking about Marc Guéhi anymore, and subscribe if you haven't done already, and I will see you guys on the next video. Hopefully we've got some better news. Okay guys, speak to you soon.